Greetings, traders. This is Mohan here, and thank you very much for joining with us today. We've got an exciting afternoon planned here for the Boomerang training session, and I'll get into that in a second. Before we get started, I want to make sure you understand the disclaimer and risk disclosure. I've been looking at this thing for 25 years, and I never ever lose sight of what it actually says here, and that is, especially for new traders, it's an exciting business. It's a high risk business. It's great to get excited about it, but just remember that you have to temper that excitement with the fact that in the trading business, there are going to be losses. It's part of the business. You have 5 winners, 2 losses. You can't cry about the losses or cheer about the winners. You just go into the business and you learn how to trade. And that's what I'm going to show you today, trading with Boomerang, the only system in the entire trading industry that guarantees 90% winning trade setups coming from the system. I'm going to show you more about that in a second, but don't trade with money you cannot afford to lose. This is not the kind of business where you got to take your last $2,000 you have saved or whatever it is and throw it into a trading account. You're going to lose it for sure. Even if you're winning a lot, you're going to still there's drawdown periods, there's great periods that you got to have enough capital to substantiate being a trader. So just be aware of the risk disclaimer. I'm glad that I showed you this. Like I said, for 25 years I've been looking at this and I never take it lightly. What we're going to do today and is go over. I've got 2 weeks of setups loaded here. If you right click on your Boomerang chart, you go to data series, you see right there 14 days. You see that's what I've got loaded. That's the last 2 week period, and I often will go over those. I have not looked over those in hindsight. I trade them every day, so I remember some certain periods. But I don't really prepare for these webinars other than to do my best to give you the exact crystal clear rules and method and how to understand it, along with any nuances or any new ideas that I've come up with to help you trade better. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do today, first of all, okay, thank you, Ashton. I've got a confirmation of the audio and video is good. You can see everything, see my cursor moving. That's the beginning of the thing here, and that's most appreciated. I'm going to ask you to bear with these blue cyan colored lines here on the chart. This is, I don't want to remove them for the webinar, which I often do, but this is from our use this exact chart in our daily live trading room called the Day Traders Action Room, where I trade Boomerang setups, but I also trade 3 or 4 other modifications that I use that I've developed over the last 25 years. That's my separate service. I have 2 services, which is Boomerang Day Trader, which I'm going to go over today. That's the purpose of this today. This is designed for an individual retail trader who wants to be really successful in trading and have steady winning trades and is willing to wait, key thing, willing to wait for those winning trades in according to the exact setups I'm going to show you today. In my other service, the Day Traders Action Live Trading Room, I can trade. I can make money in choppy markets or any kind of markets, but a lot of those things, if you're learning Boomerang Day Trader, might seem a little bit conflicting with the Boomerang trading method. It is not that. My day trading live room is all my experience rolled into one session, and so I just want to make that clear. But so just don't mind these lines here. There's a bunch of them on here. They're key levels, and what we'll be doing as we're going back over the next 2 weeks, you'll see how vital these are and how these levels are there. It's not part of Boomerang trading. You don't need these levels for trading, but I use them to just remind me, hey, this is the last point here. It's like a line in the sand where the market ramped up to and then fell back. Now, just to get started here, to explain that to you, look at this. Gee, what a coincidence. Now keep in mind, I put these lines on here approximately 4 or 5 days ago. Look at this here. This one was new today. This one I called this morning. I said there's a low coming in here right at this level, 45.90. And this was right at this time. We had ended our trading room early today. And so it was right when I called this level here right at this time, just about an hour into trading. We stopped because they had this FOMC minutes announcement, and usually on those days I try to lighten up the trading. So we hit our early target goal, and then I stopped, and right as I was leaving, I said, oh, there's the bottom right there at 45.90. Well, lo and behold, would have been a great place to go long and just hold all day, because notice how they came up to this blue line here, they stagnated, got all full of whipsaw, shot up higher, pulled back, held above this line, and look at this, coming into the close, where did they go? That's right, they ran up just under this top of the line here, which was, as far as I know, that's my top blue line resistance there. Oh no, there's one up above it here, 46.93. And again, I did these some days ago when the market was really strong, if you recall. So look at that, it just goes right up to that line practically. And as we go back over the next 2 weeks, you'll see them actually also come into play. They're not part of Boomerang, but I just asking your pardon there to leave those on there so I could use them tomorrow in the live action. So the first thing is, for those of you who are new and just joining us today, I want to explain how Boomerang works in a real basic way. Let me just find a nice period today where it's not too choppy, but it's kind of giving us some good signals here so you can understand how this works. Let me just see here. I'll go back over 2 weeks of setups today, and we'll have question and answer period. If you don't mind, please hold your questions until later in the session, and I'll be able to go over those with you. We always have an extensive Q&A session, but just for right now, I want to really get this presentation out here. All right, this looks pretty good here. Again, I'm just trying to demonstrate because here's the thing. Oh, this is a good one here. This is almost perfect. We only have 3 setups in Boomerang. Actually, technically 2, but one of them is a recent modification that I've back tested and found it works so well. It's really part of the same number 1 setup, and that is this. Here's all I want you to think about. When you're trading with Boomerang, first of all, if you're brand new, I know a lot of you have been with me for a while and you've owned Boomerang, but just bear with me while I explain for our new friends and traders coming in here. You have, first of all, these are the biased indexes down here. And for right now, you don't have to worry about, just ignore these for now, and I'll get back into later what the value of these. These are important, but they're not necessary for trading Boomerang. Boomerang, I've made it so simple. Not only is it the only system in the entire trading industry that guarantees 90% winning trades. Never been done in the history of the stock market. So I'm proud to be part of that. Proud to raise the bar to that level, because if you go ahead and ask any other trading system you might be looking at to purchase or get into, just ask them, hey, do you guarantee 90% winning trades? And they'll shoot you back an email, or if you're talking, they'll say, what are you, nuts? Nobody does that. And you can kind of just smile and go, oh, okay, talk to you later. Mohan does, and if you can't do that, then just think about it. You must not have a lot of confidence in your trading system. Anyway, we do. Here's how it works. First of all, you have this thin dashed line here, very thin line. This is called the trade signal line. In fact, I'm going to just quickly switch over, just for pure convenience here, to a pointer. There we go. I usually require and need those bands for the other thing, but just let me show you this here. The thin dashed line here, that is the trade signal line. Now, it's very sensitive. It took me over a year to develop it. It colors these candles. Now, we use a 450 tick chart. Now, I know that seems a little unusual, but keep in mind that 450 ticks is a nice time frame balance between like a 1 minute chart and approximately a 2 minute to 2.5 minute chart. And the ticks are what build each candle. So those ticks, you're building the candle on actual data coming in rather than an exact time period like 2 minutes or 3 minutes or 1 minute or whatever. So I found it to be really valuable. And at first I didn't want to use 450 ticks. I thought, no, I don't tell me this is true. But it took me 5 years to develop Boomerang, not 5 months like a lot of these systems out there where they just throw stuff together and make it look cool and try to sell it to you. I spent a long time personally trading it, working with it, developing it. And I continue on these classes every 2 weeks to update and let you know if there's anything else different or new ideas or whatever. I want you to have the most cutting edge system, and working with me, you have someone who understands what Peter Steidelmeyer said a long time ago, and that is you have to be doing what's vital to the markets right now. If you're not, you're missing the boat. This is not a black box system, although it is 90% that. Black box meaning that it's a system, you apply it to your charts, it's going to work, and we guarantee 90% winning trades. However, we still want to be vital to any possible subtle shifts or nuances in the market where we can get another advantage over using the system. So, first you have this, what I call the trade signal line. It colors the candles according to the color of the line. You see that? Notice the lines here is green, green candles going up. Right there for a millisecond it turns gray, and it colors that candle gray. That means shift in bias. Well, gee, what a coincidence. Right here in this candle is when the market started falling back. Another gray candle, then they turn red. All this is being done by the sensitivity and the algorithm in this trade signal line here. It's one of the key components of Boomerang, and we also use the trade signal line to set up these yellow and blue dots, which are buy and sell signals that are done within the right configuration of Boomerang. That's the most important thing or not. It's not that each one is just a buy or a sell signal and you go, hey, look, this isn't working. Look at that. You got to understand the system. And I know most of you do, but there are new people that are joining with us today, and I want them to fully understand this. The trade signal line is here. The second component is the trade channel, which is marked and alarmed by this arrow. And you can set up different sound alarms or whatever you want, or you can remove the alarms, whatever. But this lets you know a new trade channel is opening. And the next goal is to trade a pullback to the signal line, which is instantly marked and alarmed with a yellow dot on this chart on the sell side and a blue dot on the buy side, such as here. You with me on that? Real simple so far. New sell channel, which is shaded the red color, a pullback to the signal line, and we scalp for a 3-point trade on mini NAS. On ES, it would be more like a 1.5. It's different a little bit for each contract. If you're trading the DAX in Germany, it's a little bit different. But I'm just using the mini NASDAQ here because, of course, the NAS is always in the headlines. That's the hot sector, has been for many, many years, will be into the future. And to me, it's one of the best day trading contracts of all. Many traders like the TF, the Russell 2000, fantastic. It's a different exchange. You got to pay a little more money to work the 2000 because it's on a different exchange, but that's a good one too. Mini Dow is good. ES, I have a problem with ES nowadays because not only with any system in Boomerang, especially if you're scalping for 1 point or 1.5, where do you put your stop? At 1 point, 2 points? I mean, that's pretty tough on the S&P. My point is that there are better contracts on the U.S. stock indexes to use, such as mini NAS. So we'll use that as an example today. The second part of the signal line coloring the candles, candles color, and the opening of the trade channel is the Cobra. That's this next line here. That's a faster moving line that's going to signal in advance, usually before a trade channel opens. Notice how right here, let me open this up even more. Notice how right here the candle started changing color, giving you a lot of information on the bias shift. Right here on this gray candle, you notice how the Cobra changed to red? That's an advance warning of a new trade channel possibly coming. There it is. Trade channel opens up. And then the next thing we look for is this duo here, this color of cyan and magenta. The bullish color is the bluish color, and the magenta color is the bearish color, the reddish color. This pair is called the dynamic trend bands, and they are absolutely amazing. They have several purposes, but for our purposes, in showing the basic core Boomerang method is we look for the dynamic trend band number 1, which is dot dash line, the thinner one. Number 1 to change color after we get a trade channel that opens. And then for the dynamic trend band number 2, which is the thicker solid line, to either match colors to set up a trade, or for this spread of these two, like here's the spread here of the crossover, to be a 1.5 or less apart. And you usually don't even have to measure it. You can just visually see if these two are almost touching, it's going to be a 1.5, and that permissions a trade in our system to go ahead and take that trade. Now, a classic example on this day, and that's why I wanted to give you some really good examples, is right here we get the trade channel opening, the dynamic trend band number 1 turning magenta. Right here on this candle here, practically they're matching on this candle. The color is matching. The pullback, the signal comes in, you hear the alarm, you go up here and you hit sell. It's a sell signal in a sell channel with a yellow dot. You hit sell, and this, the way we, when we offer Boomerang to you and you purchase it, it sets it up where you put on brackets. It'll show a bracket coming across here that'll show your entry, a 5-point stop. We use an automatic 5-point stop. That's part of the system. If you try to tighten up the stop or whatever, you're screwing with the system, and you won't get the 90% winning trades. Why are you worried about a wider stop if 9 out of 10 trades are going to be winners? If you think you're going to save money and tighten the stop, you'll probably get stopped out a lot more, and then, again, you're screwing around with the system, and congratulations, now you're not winning as much. But if you follow the system, you'll love it. And besides, 5 points is no big deal on NAS. It's only 20 bucks a point. So the main idea, though, is this. You take this trade here, and I'm going to switch right. So you understand that these are the components of Boomerang. That's the main thing. Now, these outside bands are Bollinger Bands. They're very valuable and very wonderful. Excuse me. Yeah, I've been talking all day on my webinar and doing other things too. So my voice is all right, but just a little scratchy. Maybe I sound like a floor trader or something. Bygone and the bygone days of floor traders. God, it used to be the whole world was on the floor there. Now it's all what they call upstairs, electronically, up on the stairs in your computer, like us. Anyway, the Bollinger Bands, this is a standard 14 period, 2 period deviation, standard deviation. And the Bollinger Bands are used by hedge funds, commercial traders. They're used widely by analysts, and they're just really incredible. They work good. They're not part of Boomerang. They're a part of Boomerang to take the trade channel and put these bands on it to give you more information. And more on that later. But for right now, basically, when you can see this, that when the prices come down and tap the Bollinger Band, it tends to start a movement in that direction. Even if the prices reflect back once those have tapped, if everything's continuing, they're going to go down, tap them again, and continue and tap again until you get an opposite move. Now, you can see here they're tapping the Bollinger Band on the upside, but the point is, in conjunction, the Bollinger Bands in conjunction with the dynamic trend bands are absolutely scary in their accuracy. I mean, here's a tap in the Bollinger Band, here's the colors matching, you get that downtrend, and now the crossover locks in the downtrend. So even on a reflex bounce, you want to stay on that short side. They come back and tap the Bollinger again, and they reflex again right back to the Cobra, and I'll get to that in a minute. And then they go down again and tap the Bollinger Band. And even though they're reflecting and tapping it up here again, there's still that downside move because you now have a steep dynamic trend band, which is one of the ways that we read the markets, using the dynamic trend band readings. It's so simple to use. Now, I'll show you the setups. Pull sell channel, matching dynamic trend bands, or within 1.5 in the crossover, which can be easily seen by just visualizing it here, seeing the prices getting ready to cross over. Trade to the signal line. And then the only other trade setup, other than a slight enhancement, which I'll go over in a minute with you, I'll have to find the setup to show it to you, is when we get a crossover, a brand new crossover coming in here, and we get that maybe develops a little ways. It may be further down or maybe close to the crossover right here. You get a counter buy arrow, a buy channel arrow opening, maybe even get a blue dot on the candle, maybe a couple of them. It doesn't matter, but as long as it doesn't change the dynamic trend band number 2, the bias of the thing, the bias of the trend, all you do then, this is our only 2 trades. You wait for the second sell channel to open after the failure of the buy channel. Minute you see that sell arrow, get ready, because sometimes the yellow dot will appear right on the opening candle, but just get ready. When you see this buy channel come in, expect it to fail, especially after a really early crossover like here, and get your finger on the trigger up here on the sell button. That's your trigger right there. Sell it to market. Forget bid and ask and all that, just market. Buy market, sell market, and close out the trade. That's all you got to use. You're not going to use a reversal or anything. Just buy, sell, and close them out. One push, one touch, you're done. So now look at this. So here's our second level sell coming in. That's a trade, a second, that's a boomerang authorized trade. The first one is the crossover to pull back the signal line. The second one is if you get a second level trade. There it is there. And I'm going to switch over now to my crosshairs. So trade number one on this day, which was 11:16. This is an hour into the opening, but I'm just showing you this because it's got good examples for us. 3 points here, which on 4 contracts, what I call a blue collar working trader. That's a guy that gets up and goes to work every day. He doesn't worry about it. He doesn't try to go on permanent vacation. He knows I'm working. I got a job. I got to go to my job to keep my job. I got a duty at the job, which is assigned by the boss, which in this case is the markets. And that market assigns me a job. With markets and Boomerang are the boss. They assign me a job. My job right here is to be smart enough to know how to follow these simple rules that I'm showing you. Doesn't take much, just have to follow them. Then you have to develop the courage, the nerve. You have to develop the skill of being a day trader to come in here and say, but it's such a piece of cake. You go, okay, everything's matching color, boom, I'm short. You take 3 points on a blue collar working traders account, which I designed Boomerang for the small trader, someone with 5, 6, 7,000 bucks in the account. They're just going to trade 4 contracts. Maybe you want a little more. You have a cushion in case if for any reason you have a drawdown or you screw up and do something wrong and you lose some money. It's not Boomerang's fault. You didn't follow the rules, but you got to have a little extra cash there to cushion the account. It's always a good idea as a futures trader. You should ultimately have 10, 20,000 bucks available for futures trading. Not next month's mortgage. Don't use that because the banks may call, and if you don't have it, you're going to have a problem. You don't want to do that. That's why that disclaimer I put up there. This is for basically for rich people or people who have money to lose and money to invest to start this futures trading business. But on 4 contracts, here's the point: 3 points. I'm going to ask you to buy Boomerang, trade with Boomerang, get really, really incredibly good at following these exact setups I'm showing you. And you can put on 4 contracts ultimately as you build up to that. That's going to be after commish about 230 bucks for doing that job, for going to work as a blue collar working trader saying, oh, boss says to go short. You don't think, you go short. You get 3 points, 230 bucks in your pocket. I mean, a lot of people who have a great job, that's all they make all day. I'm going to show you how to make that 4, 5, 6 times a day and then stop trading and go home. You're done for the day, right? So that's done with these 2 setups. First of all, this one, and then the second one is when you get a counter buy opposite of the new trend channel, and especially with the new crossover, that's going to be a powerful down move. New sell, and you trade right here to the signal line again. 675 comes straight down to 96, almost a 10 handle jump to the downside here. You just want your 3 points. Don't worry about catching the big move. That's not important, and I'll tell you why. Your job is not to focus on that. That's what everybody else doing. Ooh, look at the big move there. I could have caught this much. That's all ego. There's no need to worry about that. You're coming in with a very exact, specific job every day. I want you to get this mindset correct. I'm going to work. I'm going to my job. The boss is going to give me an assignment. I'm going to follow it, and I'm going to get paid. We're not trying to work and trade Boomerang in terms of how much the market moved and all that. That's not important in Boomerang. The reason is, too, is if you get really, really good at following this and you get that mindset and you get it straight in your head once and for all, I'm going to work, the alarm's going off, I'm going to work, and I'm going to capture these trade setups. You can put on 5 contracts, you can put on 10, you can put on 20 if you want to increase the amount of points you make. Say you said, oh, I got short here, but I could have got them all the way down here. Well, the one-lot traders are all thinking like that because they're afraid to trade more than one lot. But if you make 3 points and you have 20 contracts on this 3 point move, that's a 60 point move. Are you with me? So if you want to capture, this market ran here from 45.09 down to 88. So that's 20 points, right? So you want to capture 20 points. Get really good at doing 3 points and put on 8 contracts. You'll capture 24 points on each move. You see, once you develop the confidence, you build your account up, you can do that. You'll capture 3 points on each move, then you'll capture another one again. But what's the key element there? That's right, you're reducing your risk because you're just looking for this fast move. Most of the boomerang trades, they don't have any pressure on the stop. They go right in the favor if they're set up right. You're reducing your risk. You get really good at one particular operation, and you're really cutting your risk back because you're not having to if you try to go short here, they come all the way down here, then they ramp all the way back up over your entry. How do you know not that they're not going to fly all the way up here, and then you had that nice gain and now you got stopped out and you took this short? Same thing, they go down here, you're done with this particular channel. Who cares if they go down here? You just made 6 points, and if you had 4 contracts on there, that's 24 total points. You with me? See how that works? That's how you catch the big move. And if you want to raise, you want to catch more points, do what's easier than these guys that try to hold this big move, which is so difficult to do. It can be done, and I do it in my live room a lot, catching the 8, 12, 16-point moves sometimes. But I'm telling you, it's a lot of risk. So if you could get really good at capturing these 3 point, I'm really stressing this because I want you more than anything, especially if you've owned boomerang for a while. Stop trying to go back to the past and catch the big moves or to try to tweak the system. Just follow the system and you'll do very well. Just go to work every day, follow the exact system, and you'll do very well. That's all. That's my advice. You'll have a great life. You'll go to work. It's not that hard. A lot of times you can get done in the first couple hours of trading, and you look back and you go, wow, I made $1,000 in the first 2 hours. Well, let's stop for the day and go do it tomorrow. You see what I mean? So that was the 2 trade setups right here. Fortunately, where I scrolled over to, I've got a chance to show you the one modification, which is really all we're doing is we're trading a crossover on the dynamic trend bands. We're trying to see if we get 1 trade out of it. We're trying to see if we get 2 with a counter crossover trade. And sometimes the trade will work out in a certain way. And in the past, we would just have to avoid these. But now I've designed a way, and that is when you get a new cross. Okay, notice here, just forget the 3rd level trade here. There is a 3rd-level winner here, but we only take 2nd level. Again, everything I designed in here, not 5 months of development, 5 years of watching all these nuances. 3rd-level trades, they happen like here. 97 comes all the way down to 88, almost 10-point move, but they're just higher risk. Go ahead and take them if you want, but it's not part of the system. They're higher risk, usually better off just waiting for the next crossover, because all you care about is finishing out the day with as much ease as possible. Because remember, I forgot to mention, not only is there more risk if you're trying to catch a big move, there's damage to your neurological system and your heart and your mind. A lot of people say, well, I'm tough, I'm like Rambo and I can do that. Yeah, I know, but I've been trading 25 years and I've been Rambo for 25 years. And I'm telling you, as you do this stuff long enough, there are forms, that's a lot of pressure to take every day. And although you can take it like a high-speed race car driver and everything, a lot of those guys crash, the best of the best. It often ends with them crashing, spinning, rolling, and dying. And I'm just saying, we're not, it's a lot of times to me, I tell my wife, it feels like I'm in a high-speed race car drive every day. But what I'm saying, the point is that be good to yourself. Trade boomerang, go easy on yourself, make it as easy as possible, and then you will be able to have a smoother existence. Now here's an example. Now it doesn't set up exactly like this, but I'll just try to show you as an example. Maybe when I'm going back over the 2 weeks of setups, you'll find a better example. I'm sure we will. When the market's getting, you see it ready to cross over here. Okay, so we've achieved the level where they're 1.5 getting ready to spread to the upside. The Cobra's blinking red and green. It's really, the market's trying to take off. So we notice They light up as soon as that trade channel opens. You got to wait for the trade channel. That bar lights up to the upside, that candle, and they tap. Notice that. What a coincidence. Taps the Bollinger Band. That sort of sets the beginning of this thing. One of the rules, this one would have been okay to trade this pullback right here, the sig line, when you would have got your third winning trade of what we've gone over here. But what I was trying to point out is that sometimes I'll just hypothetically say this will take off here, and you'll get 1, 2, 3 candles that'll shoot up without a pullback sig line. In the past, if it forms a fat channel or it gets a little bit heavy on the upside, we would just avoid that trade. But a new modification that I've tested, and that is, it's real simple. If and only if you have a brand new crossover. Now, I can't give you an exact candle count or anything, but I would say, and again, I haven't tested, but under 10 candles, probably less, but probably 10 or less candles, maybe 12. You just have to use common sense. Here's a brand new crossover. Now, if these had continued and shot up, the modification I would like to recommend to you is that it's okay based on this brand new crossover with no trade on this trade signal line showing up to trade a pullback to the Cobra. And that's right here. So you take your chance at a pullback to Cobra because they've always ran up substantially. Look at the logic of this idea. They've ran up substantially on a brand new crossover. That market's most likely going to go higher. So by taking a chance on catching the pullback to the Cobra is something I've tested and found out to work really well. So that's a new modification for Boomerang. I haven't put it in the PDF manual or anything, but it'll eventually find its way in there. I'll have to update that. But for now, I'm relying on people who buy Boomerang to come to these trainings and get this information and take notes. This is your job, buddy. If you sign up for a job, say they recruit you, a headhunter calls you and says, okay, we got 150,000 in your job. Do you want it? You go, yeah. And you live in Kansas, for example. They say, well, we need you in New York by next week. How bad do you want the job? Okay, I'll be there. That's the first thing. Well, you show up there and they say, okay, we sign all the agreements, do all the stuff. You're hired. We love what you do. We think you're going to be great. You're hired. You've moved to New York. Now they say, okay, well, we need you here by 7:30 every morning, and don't plan on being home for dinner, usually at least for the first year. You'll usually be here till 7, 8 at night every night because we've got a lot of stuff going on, and there's bonuses, there's all kinds of stuff. What are you going to say? Oh, no, no, I don't want to do that. Whoa, you pay me, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just sleep in and get there whenever I do and go home whenever I want. I got to be home by 6 so I can have dinner. My wife will kill me. They're going to say, you're fired. You haven't got hired and you're fired, right? That's what's going to happen if you get recruited for a heavy-duty job like that. So here you are trading. You have the potential to make that much times 2 or 3, and you don't want to come to my bi-weekly trainings and take notes. That's too much work to, I got to lift up that pen. And do you see what I mean? You're not serious. And that's okay, but I'm just saying, we'll still try to help you. But if you take it serious and you get what I'm showing you focused in your brain and you plan on making 200,000 a year, you can do it following these simple rules. You don't have to modify the rules. You don't have to go crazy and try to figure out everything. Just follow the rules. So I'll go into that more. I'm going to scroll back and we're going to go over the rules a lot, or the method that I just showed you, everything I just showed you, and we're going to go over at rapid speed here. So that was an example of a modification. That's it. Those are the only 2 setups. Anything else that you think is a setup, you made it up in your own mind. It's not Boomerang. It's something you made up, and that's a big whatever. I mean, you're free to do whatever you want, but we can't guarantee 90% winning trades if you're going to just make up trades. So, again, I'm just a little tough love here because I've had to do it to myself. Do you understand? I've had to use extreme tough love with myself because sometimes we all know this happens. You might laugh when you hear this. You got the rules in front of you. They're really simple. And here's your long trade here. And somehow you're long up here, or heaven forbid, you're short right here. It's like, what? And you look at yourself and then you get stopped out and you go, what was I doing? See, you're modifying the rules for some reason. It's bad habits. Look, it's real simple. It's bad habits from the past. That's all. You've been trading a while in most cases, many of you have, and you're bringing a lot of bad habits. You're buying Boomerang and coming to these webinars because you have either been on a break-even streak or a losing streak or whatever, and you're trying to convert that to a winning streak. So what I've offered you here is a real simple method and approach. The only one in the industry. I know I've mentioned that before, but it's a milestone. It's like the Wright brothers come inventing the airplane or whatever. The only system that's guaranteed to produce 90% winning trades. All you have to do is align yourself with that. Be willing. Here's the hard part of Boomerang. I'll admit this. Waiting for the correct setups. Here's a classic example today. After this is West Coast chart, so 9 o'clock is noon Eastern time. Here you get a winning trade, and market's going up, and there's no counter buy, no counter sell channel here to create a return to a buy channel. So there's no second trade here. This is all rigged today. These riggers are pushing this thing up. You know, they got their game and their political reasons. Not a place here to discuss that, but don't. I mean, there's nothing bullish about the market here. There's some bullish patterns and this and that, but this is all artificial. But aside from that, well, especially it's artificial because you didn't get a counter sell channel that failed and then a bipolar. That's a sign that the markets are probably really trading in a genuine bullish algorithm where they're just jammed up with no pullbacks. Oh, really? We're not allowing any pullbacks in the market? Like there's only all these insanely frothing buyers out there and there's no counter sellers to come in here? You see what I mean? Look, all the way up to here, no sellers. Come on, give me a break. Aside from that, again, it's another subject. So I'll be glad to send you a report on it if you're interested. The point is, for Boomerang purposes, you got your 3 points back here. You got your $230 in your pocket, and the market goes up. You have to wait for this. You're waiting for a sell signal. There's none here. You might think, oh, this is topping out. This is topping out. It doesn't matter whether it's topping out or not. You don't have a Boomerang signal. Now you're into the final hour and they've jammed this thing all the way. This is, I think, yesterday's. And this is not a Boomerang signal. Why? Because it's 10 minutes before the close. Don't trade it 10 minutes before the close. You don't have enough time. In fact, don't trade the final hour with Boomerang. I don't recommend it. Even though most Boomerang trades will pan out very, very quickly, you just really don't want to trade into the final hour usually. You can if you're willing to get right out of it. It's not going to work out quickly. But in most cases, I just recommend you not trade during that final hour. You're going to have enough setups, and I'll show you that in a second here over the last 2 weeks, which I haven't gone over. I haven't gone over these in detail, so I have no way of knowing what to expect. But I'll just show you what I just showed you now. Just remember what I just showed you now, and it's all recorded, so you'll be able to watch it again as many times as you want on the blog there. I'll post it on the blog. Taking those exact rules, including that one modification, I'm going to now scroll back and go over very quickly 2 weeks of trade setups. Now, I've spent a lot of time here explaining some theory about, mainly, it's most important, the mindset of coming to work every day. I'm coming to work and I'm waiting for an assignment by the market to trade Boomerang. Do you see what I'm saying? I have a boss. He tells me what to do. I do it. I follow my work. I get paid very well. What is your main goal? To get paid very well. That's mine. If the boss says to short him here, you short him. If the boss says to buy him, namely Boomerang in the market, you buy him. You place a 5 point stop. You don't care because it's rarely going to get hit. It might get hit once in a while, and it's usually only gets hit when, number one, you did something wrong. You didn't set up the trade right, or number two, there's just radical whipsaw that just shows up right when you get in. Whipsaw comes in and smashes the price into the 5 point target. All right, so let's take this one here. This is 11/4, so I'm going back 2 weeks, and I'll go as fast as I can. I'm going to have to because I don't want to. The webinar will end officially at approximately 20 minutes. That's not a lot of time, especially over 2 weeks of setups. Now, I do have, by the way, And you can see that on the blog. It was around 422 of this year. I did one webinar where I meticulously went through 2 weeks of exact trade setups, and I never went over them, or like now I didn't go back over it, and there was 100% winners, not one single stop out. It was shocking to me because I kind of like to see a couple stops because I don't want the regulators breathing down my back saying, "Oh, you're just showing all winners." But by the way, no one's ever contacted me, and I have not had one single Boomerang owner request a refund or anything because they're not getting 90% winners. Not one single one. And I've started that guarantee approximately, I think it was about 9 months ago. So it's a darn good deal. Let's start going through them. Dynamic trend band squishing together, new sell channel, sell here at the market, down they go. Huge move, but you're taking 3 points. I know they fell right off the wagon from 22 down to 70, 22 down to 6. 15 point, it doesn't matter. You got your 3 points. You had your 1, 2, 4 contracts, 10 contracts on there. You made your money. Who cares? Who cares? It's not your job. The boss didn't say hold for the big move and catch 20. He said take 3 points and scalp them out, close them out, make your life easy, cut your risk. Okay, trade number one. Market's going down, down. Here's a counter buy channel, but you got the prices and the whole configuration crossing over the dynamic trend band number 2 here. That doesn't make this a buy trade. It makes it a reset for the market. Now, clearly, it didn't change the dynamic trend band color or anything. So theoretically, this move here at 875 coming down to 325 was a valid trade in a sense, but I'm just telling you, that's why you come to these webinars, that once that Cobra crosses over and everything, it's a little bit tricky. You want more of that configuration, like something like this here, where you don't get a full crossover of the Cobra and the trade signal line. Maybe the TSL is going to cross over, but generally you don't want to see the Cobra and this whole configuration crossover. Plus, it was a substantial downside hammering, so you got to be a little bit careful on those steep moves. Expect whipsaw though, and that's what happens here. Is a crossover. It's not a buy signal here. The steep dynamic trend band, that's one of the simple rules of Boomerang. Don't trade against a steep dynamic trend band or a flat dynamic trend band. Flat's okay if you got everything lining up in your favor, but if they're flat and they're ping-ponging up and down in whipsaw fashion off the Bollinger Bands, just stand aside and wait. Anyway, usually when you get a big strong move, especially if it's in one big crunch, not like a counter buy move and a counter and then the sell move, but a one big crunch, you're going to get whipsaw at the end of that move, and that's what's happening here. So you don't take the first buy, you wait for the second one, because that gives the market time. And Boomerang, look here, they're crossing over again. So this is uncomfortable. That's not a buy signal. You're just waiting, and that technically would not be a sell signal because of all this coming over here. Just wait. It's resetting itself. Peacefully wait and relax. Now look at this. Here's the tightening of the bands coming together, the crossover, new buy channel, pullback signal line, and up they go. There's your second winning trade in a row on this day. Perfect. Now, again, I want to point out you got out here 3 points. You got to get used to tolerating the market going this far against you. You got to get that out of your head that it doesn't matter. I have a sign on my desk, and I often talk about this. It's really important. It says, "So what? Who cares? And no big deal." Just written out up there. And I constantly use that to calm my mind down and calm my emotions when you see the market do something that you don't want it to, or you still have some attachment to the big move. God, if I could get you to just forget about that, it would be a milestone. And replace it with this idea of I go to work, the boss assigns me a job, I follow the assignment. The boss didn't say to catch 10 points or 20. He said catch 3 and get real good at that. He's saying, "Bill, I want you to get really good at just catching the 3 points because I got a promotion for you in the future if you can do that." Did you catch that? The boss says, if you get real good at following my exact order and my assignment to catch 3 points, I got a huge promotion for you. If you can prove to me that you can do that, Bill, I'm going to double your salary very quickly, probably within the next 6 to 8 months. Would you follow what the boss says if he told you that? Or would you keep trying to disobey and catch the big move. Well, you see my point. You get really, really good at these setups, low pressure setups. You're going to have enough pressure if you got 4 contracts on or 10 or whatever. Get in the trade, get your money, and move on. So there's trade number 2 here. You notice it's perfect. Here's the crossover. Here's the market opening, the trade channel, the pullback signal line. Up they go. Now, we're watching for the next setup. Now, what is the rule here on this whole setup here? That's right. Absolutely no trade until either there is a crossover of the dynamic trend bands or they're matching color. Now, again, part of the whatever of trading is this new sell channel opened up, and that market went to sell off, and it just crunched to the downside. They came back here. Now, I know that's the trade signal. It doesn't matter because there was no, well, arguably, okay, I'm going to show you something here. This market got crunched to the downside. They flipped back up, and right here, you have matching dynamic trend bands, and there was a pullback up here to the Cobra. You see that? This would have been fast, and not being in the live action, I'm not sure exactly, but it looks like while the time they were matching on the dynamic trend bands, you had the prices at the Cobra, you could have shorted there. But we'll leave that one alone. If you missed it and say you followed all this setup here and saw them flip back and you saw them match and then they just crunch to the downside, so you look up at your sign, so what? Who cares? No big deal as the market gets crunched to the downside. That's the way it goes. Looking back, you might have said, oh, I could have shorted the Cobra there. It doesn't matter because, and again, while these are changing colors, you might have had some blinking in the Cobra or the dynamic trend band number 2 there, and you might have avoided the trade. It doesn't matter. It wasn't a real crystal clear setup. So you wait for the next one. Now, where does that happen? Little quiz for you. This is almost like that last trade. Now, there's no counter buy here. What would have been perfect if had there been a counter buy channel here and then a sell channel with everything matching, you could have taken that, but it didn't happen. But because it was a big crunch to the downside, you got that whipsaw coming up over here. So what is the rule? Well, obviously, you got to wait for the crossover, wait for the dynamic trend bands to tighten up. But you don't take, this is not a buy signal here. You do not trade against a steep dynamic trend band. And you wait, in most cases, not all, but in most cases, you're going to wait for that second buy signal. And that comes in right here. Here's the buy channel here. It's perfect. They're crossing it right here. A nice pullback to the signal line. Little pressure on that trade. 98 came down to 95.75. Not much, but a little. This is futures trading, so not for the faint of heart. 98.50 shoots straight up to 47.07. 3 points. That's your third winning trade, saying that we didn't take this one. It's fourth if you caught that pullback to the Cobra and you perceived all this correctly. And the way the market was in the live action allowed you to. It looked like it was pretty fast action there. So third winning trade. So now what do we do here? The trend bands spread out and the market goes up and they start coming back down here. Are these yellow dots trade signals? Are you supposed to get short here? Nope. No way. You're waiting for the spread to tighten up here or for the colors to match. So in that circumstance, unfortunately, this trade there was no trade here. And again, you have to wait. You've already had 3 winning trades. If you had 4 contracts on your blue collar working trader, you're up $690 already. What do you care if you miss this, or oh, that one got away, darn that boomerang? No, it's not boomerang. It's the markets. Boomerang just put $700 in your pocket. Who cares? It didn't pan out. The market was too fast. It just took off. So once they got here to the crossover matching right here, they just got smashed to the downside. It was all over. You wouldn't want to take that because it just hard smash, big fat channel. Just forget about it. Now, that modification of the Cobra, that's generally going to be after a brand new crossover, and definitely not on a big downside smash like this. You don't want to trade because that pullback to the Cobra in this case, it did work. You can see that 99 came down to 94, but it's just a lot riskier trade, and it almost hit the 5 point stop here. You just have to forget that when they get smashed that way. And how to clarify that rule, you got to get in the markets and get experience and trade and just have the common sense understanding. Look, by the time the prices got up here to the Cobra, look how wide the spread is on the DTBs. You got to just that modification is for a different type of setup. Anyway, we'll find one here. I'm sure we will. Now, what do we do here? Okay, so they could smash the downside. Now the price are trying to push up again, and we're watching once again for the colors to match. Take a pullback to the signal line on a blue dot, but way down here they started the trade channel, and Boomerang will mark up to six pullbacks to the signal line if they occurred after the sixth candle. It's not going to mark it, so you want to avoid those. You want to get the early pullbacks. You want the exact right setup. So a lot of patience has been required after this last winning trade. This one didn't pan out right. This one here is struggling to pan out right because there's no match till you're up here, and it got away from you. Look up at your sign. So what? Who cares? Who gives a you know what? Big deal. I'm up $700, and now it's an hour and a half before the market close. You know what? I'm going to quit for the day. I'm up $700. I had a great day. I couldn't make that sitting in an office. If I was sitting in an office doing an executive job somewhere, I would have had to been on the phone all day, filing reports, contacting clients, going out to meet clients and all that. I just made $700 sitting and trading Boomerang. And what was my price I had to pay? I had to follow the rules. I had to wait for the exact correct setups. And when they didn't pan out, I don't get all mad. And is this for mature adults? Trading is for mature adults. And trust me, trading will test every level of your adult maturity because it just, it can leave you kicking and screaming unless you learn to control that. There's no setup here. There is no setup here. There's nothing wrong with Boomerang. The market was really fast and furious, and it just didn't set him up. No big deal. Anyway, so off we go, looking for the next setup for this day. Then we'll close out this session, move on. Same thing here. They took off to this was going on all day today. This last few weeks has been pretty volatile. This whole thing, the last 6 weeks, just a bunch of volatility and down, 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 down. You go, God, when's it going to stop? Then they reverse. When they finally reverse, and it's just a blast to the upside, it's just really nuts. Anyway, that's okay. I think people say, oh, the markets are nuts. No, we're nuts for trading them. Just remember that. Did you hear that? Whenever you attempt to say, oh, these markets are really nuts, you hear that all the time. You hear it from people who don't know anything about trading. You hear it from traders. You hear it on CNBC. But the truth is, we're nuts for trading them. Just face that and life will be a lot easier. It's easier to face being a gambler than it is to deny it. I used to hate that. People say, oh, you're a trader. Oh, you're a gambler. And I'd get kind of mad inside, and I'd just calmly say, okay, well, you don't understand trading, so shut the F you up. But that's okay. I've since read Mark Douglas's book, Trading in the Zone, which I highly recommend for every single Boomerang owner. It's the only book I recommend. He's the best. He and I did a seminar together, a live seminar. It was my seminar, and then I asked him to join. We paid him, I don't know, 15, 20 grand. He joined the seminar, taught for half a day. It was a 2-day seminar, and he just was fantastic. I've known him since the 80s. I went and visited him in Chicago, and he's the best. Mark Douglas, the original trading expert psychologist, if you call it that. But you don't calling it that. A lot of people go, "Oh, I don't need a psychologist." Well, you do. We all do, because we're traders. Somebody ought to have a talk with us, sit us down on a couch, and say, "What are you doing?" But I'm joking a little bit here, but you got to also take it serious. That don't say the markets are nuts, but instead say, maybe I'm nuts for trading them. It's a healthier position to have. Anyway, I'm supposed to be doing this real fast. I've spent some time musing and joking with you, but that's okay. It's part of our business here. So No trade here as the markets are opening up. Watch these openings. Don't be too anxious to trade the opening. That's the amateurs like to trade the opening in the first 5 10. They got to get in. They got to get the action going. It's a fault in trading. Wait and be peaceful for 15 20 minutes maybe. That's what I do just about every day. Sometimes I'll take a real obvious trade in the opening area first 5 minutes, but generally I like to wait. I'll even in my live room I'll paper trade a couple of times and then I'll get into it. Just get that real feeling for the market. Well, here they are, uh, coming down, making a contrary move, making a second level trade, but they didn't let us in. And as soon as that second level signal came in, again, it's too early. You don't want to trade that. Did some whipsaw to the upside, a lot of whipsaw early, especially lately. They go running up here, and if you got caught in this, it's okay. It's the one stop out that you're going to see throughout the next couple of weeks. Of course, I'm running out of time, and I apologize for that, but I hope I'm giving you some good ideas. It's so much of this game is mindset. Boomerang's a piece of cake. Boomerang is so easy to use. I mean, I can just tell you that the setups are real obvious, they're real simple, but the part that's hard is like this. Here's a sell channel opening. The yellow dot appeared right at the top of the channel. There was no confirmation of the dynamic trend, and they just sold off like a rocket ship. I remember this day. It was just forget it. It was gone. There was no counter boomerang trade. There was no modified trade where right here at this crossover, if this had bounced back up to the Cobra, it would have been a trade. I want you to understand that modification. Market shoots to the downside on a new channel, opening the downside here, for example. Brand new crossover. If right in here the market had bounced up to the Cobra, that would have been an okay trade to take, qualified by the brand new crossover within a few candles, But if they start moving and it spreads out too far, you got to be careful. If that DTB starts spreading out too far. Anyway, they no counter buy to get in or anything. That's just the way it goes. You have to wait. That's the price to pay for getting 90% winning trades. So they got hammered to the downside, and this is one of those where they kind of have a nice smooth crossover. The dynamic trend band crosses over, scoops under the prices. These usually can work on the first setup. You're not going to get a lot of volatility. It's when there's more of a herky jerk kind of crossover and then another slam to the downside. But this here with that scooping effect, now they're all matching. You trade the pullback to sig line, and there's I believe, yeah, the first winning trade on this day here, right there. That's all you're trading, nothing else. There wasn't a counter sell channel here and then a counter buy to give you second level trades. Too bad. It's the way it goes. That's the market. This here is a counter sell channel, but it's too far into the deal here. Probably not a good idea. It's too far. Markets have gone way up. You want these counter moves on a nice, smooth, straight up channel, generally kind of in the, not too far advanced along the way. Here was the counter one, plus you had the Cobra crossover. It kind of shifted it reset the pattern. So now you're in a reset pattern, and the market's response to that is insane radical whipsaw here. So they try to whip them up here again. Here's a counter buy channel, counter sell channel, counter buy here. And there was so much whipsaw here that you couldn't even see. Like if this happens and the dynamic trend bands match without these spike candles here, you can buy that action. That's still good. You got the trend band sloping up, but not like this, because they came in here on this low, and from 46.90 they weren't done whipsawing until they were up 14 handles here. It's too much. So now here they got the dynamic trend bands matching, but what's happening? Same thing, whipsaw. You don't have to figure it out. Boomerang will do that for you. Just stand aside and wait, 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 wait. That's what the price to pay for winning 90% winning trades. Here's a sell. You got the trend band matching, but they're under that. Now, arguably, even with the dynamic trend band number one, under number two, with the colors matching, you can buy a pullback the sig line here at 99, and 99 ran up to 0.3 quarters. So it made the 3-point move. But generally, when you see this radical whipsaw going on, you're better off just standing aside and waiting for what? That's right. The sell side, because the dynamic trend bands have crossed over. They're just trying to make another desperate attempt on the upside. And again, that would have been a valid trade. But if you just wait, because it's whipsaw, you don't want to get into that. So that's sort of invalidated going long here. You just wait, and what happens now? New sell arrow. Now the trend bands are all matching, and you go in nice and calmly and take a short here at 99, and they drop them right down to 94. That's it. That move right from there to there, and you're done with this channel unless it creates a counter buy and reverses back to the sell channel. And it didn't. That's the price you pay. But if you're in an office, the boss expects you to be busy all day, making phone calls, uh, calling the clients or whatever, getting out to see him, checking the reports, getting back to him. He has this report he needs. He says, "I need that on the desk, my desk by the end of the day." And you go, "I'm swamped. I got to get home." And he looks at you like, "Johnson, I need the report by the end of the day. What are you going to say?" That's the pain or the grind of working for someone like that. Our job is just following the exact boomerang trades, and our grind or pain, if you will, is there's no more trade here, and we might miss a trade. Well, we're coming into the final hour here, so there's nothing here just for academic purposes. This market just took off here. There were the trend bands were not spread tight enough. No trade. Final hour, forget it. But you had on this day, and again, a lot of waiting on this day. But the end result, if I recall from my memory, was one trade, winning trade, and yes, and two winning trades. Very rare to see that few boomerang trades sitting. But I remember this day now because I remember I went back and counted the boomerang trades and went only two trades. But I remember this day was so furious. The whipsaw was furious and the market was fast. That doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean boomerang's not going to work or anything. It just means you are the one responsible for waiting for the correct boomerang setups, and those will show up. And if you catch those, you're going to be a winner. If you're impatient and a little bit immature and new to trading, and you're expecting the world to hand you money just because you decided to become a trader and you bought boomerang, you're in for some big surprises. You've got to be very willing to follow these classes every 2 weeks I give and listen to what I'm saying to you. I've been trading 25 years. I'm giving you the best advice so you can make money. That's all that counts. But trading is not just because the market's moving around doesn't mean it's you're supposed to make money. You have to follow the boomerang rules, and repetition is the mother of all success. We are the only system in the entire trading industry that guarantees 90% winning trades. So that says a lot, doesn't it? So it's worth it. If trading was such a piece of cake, why wouldn't there be in the last, how long has the market been around? 50, 60, 70 years? How come there's not a lot of systems that make 90% winning trades and a lot of traders who develop them that guarantee them? How come there's none? There's absolutely zero in the last 70, 80 years of the market. See what I'm saying? I'm talking about books or method or anything. So that's worth the wait, isn't it? And that also does what? It tells you something about the markets. That they're not a piece of cake, that it's very hard work, and that if you want to buy boomerang and make steady winning trades and make an income, listen to what I'm saying. You'll do that. It's not hard if you just follow the rules. Right here, trend bands squishing together. I can measure them for you here. 99 quarter and 98. See that? Trade right there at the signal line. Just sell them. They're going down. It's already squished together. Sell them right there. Boom. Same thing. Same crazy market action. Markets are crazy, and we're crazy for trading them, but that's okay. If you know what you're doing and you have boomerang, you'll survive. You get your 3 points, and you go, all right, got my 3 points. Made 230 bucks in that move, and it just falls apart. And you go, holy smokes. And then here goes the brain starts going, what if, should have, could have, would have, caught the big move. Yeah, maybe. And you'll do that in the future. I'm telling you, let me tell you something, confidence. If you buy boomerang and you work with it and you get used to it, you'll catch these big moves. You'll catch a bunch of them because you'll just be so familiar with it. It'll be intuitively ingrained in your brain that the big move is there and you can catch it. Let's check it out again here. Look at that. Look at these. Look how beautiful this method works. Here's the trend bands coming together right here. 66 half, 65 at 1 point spread. Buy the pullback to the signal line. Everything else is good to go. Buy the pullback to the signal line, and up they go. And you want to watch for this. This is a market force indicator. Obviously, you want that to be green. In most cases, it will. If it's blinking red or down on the zero line, this trade may have a problem. But generally, like I said, you don't need to really look at the bias indicators that much, except for other ways to measure the market, which I'll have other classes on that in the future. But we got so many new people coming in with questions, I want to make sure and get them. Now, I'm running out of time, unfortunately. We've been an hour on this webinar. Let me do some more. I'm going to go 5 more minutes, lightning quick setup showing you the winners. Here's a winning trade here. No counter sell channels, so they go straight up. There's that patience element. You're going to need it for boomerang. Here's the market coming in here. No dynamic crossover until right here. Here's where you use that Cobra entry. The market took off to the downside, and there were signal line pullbacks here, but you didn't have the right configuration. Brand new crossover, pull back to the Cobra, hit him right here instead. Hit him short here. That's okay. Boom. The qualification is a brand new Cobra. So what's that? 2, 1, 2, 3 winning trades. You're up $700 on a small $5,000 account trading 4 contracts. $700. And it's only been an hour and a half of trading. Or you traded the Cobra here. Counter buy channel here, right? But with the Cobra and the signal line crossing over, prices running too much over it, kind of flattening out the DTB here, it upset the pattern. It didn't upset the color of the dynamic trend number 2, but it really reset the pattern. So all you're doing now is watching for the next setup. This is not a buy trade here at all. No way. It's just it would be watching for a counter sell pattern, which ends up occurring, but with all this stuff crossing over here, it kind of resets a pattern. So you're waiting, and what happens? New sell channel comes in, spikes to the downside, all matching dynamic trend bands. Trade the pullback to the signal line right here. 84.50 gets slammed down to 77. 5th winning trade in a row, I believe. Now here we go again. The market's trying to move higher. You got the crossover of the new buy channel. The spread here, notice this, 85 and 83. The spread is close, but not quite tight enough. Right here is where the dynamic trend bands match. If you bought this pullback, the signal line here at 89, they shot up to 94. You see that? Here's the dynamic trend bands matching. New buy channel. The pullback right here to the signal line is at 89, and they shot up to 94 for 3-point gain. Quickly came whipsawing back. Another reason why we take 3 points. A lot of times they'll give you 3 points, and then they'll hammer them out real quick in whipsaw fashion. But look at this. Now you got a brand new crossover. You get the counter sell channel move that doesn't upset the upside pattern. A new buy channel opens up, a pullback to the signal line right here at 93, and up they go. Now, see where patience and learning the system holds out for you. Now, you may have missed a few things here because of the way the markets were acting, but patience paid off. Now you got 6 winning trades on your belt. 6 winning trades times $230 if you're trading 4 contracts, you got $1,380 after commish in your pocket. Stop trading. It's 2 hours before the market closes. You made $1,400 almost. Just leave it alone. Okay, you want to keep going. All right, well, you don't have a trade set up here. They fell off the wagon here. By the time the DTBs were matching, you could have taken this trade, and it panned out, but it's a little bit risky, and the market's full of whipsaw here, just going wild. So you say, well, I don't care. I still want to trade. Okay, well, here's boomerang with all the matching dynamic trend bands, right? Here's the pullback to the signal line here at 91.75, and they shoot up to 97.75. So you decide to trade last hour, and you got another winning trade. Let me shoot through these a lot quicker. 5 more minutes here, and then we'll turn off the recorder and go into your question and answers here. Market opening, crossover, market's flipping around. It's all flip-flop here. Nothing really to trade. Up here, down here. Now they're turning yellow. Now they're crossing over again. All the DTBs are matching here, dynamic trend bands, but you got the sell channel here, but it's took off without you. A lot of that going on in the last couple weeks. It's going to test your patience. Some days in Boomerang, you get 11 winning trades in a row, just smooth as silk, but the riggers are killing a lot of the flow in the market here, and that's okay. It's part of their job, and we don't care. Here's a crossover. It's flat. There's no matching color. No trade here. Counter sell signal right there. Down they go. Let them drop. No counter buy reversal. You're just waiting for the next trade setup. Here's the crossover, the dynamic trend bands. Here they are matching colors. Pull back the signal line. Up they go. Same old routine. Same old wonderful routine. Boring profits because you got to wait for them. And then they come and the trade's over in 3 minutes. And you said, wow, sat here for an hour and a half. A trade sets up and it's over in 3 minutes. Well, hey, you could have been listening to music, petting the dog, talking to your kids, having a snack. That's a good deal. It's a good job. You got to have faith in the system. You got to have faith that Boomerang's going to hang in these trades. Look at this insane whipsaw. When you look for whipsaw, you look for like flattening level dynamic trend bands where we don't trade against those, and watch for the prices be moving within you look for flat Bollinger Bands. It's another way to use the BBs here. They're flat. Notice how they're flat channel, and they're just kind of pinging off up near the Bollinger Bands and all that in a choppy whipsaw. Nothing to do here. Look at this. Yeah, they're crossing over here, and the colors are matching. Then they're magenta, blue dots, yellow dots, sell channel, buy channel. This isn't anything wrong with Boomerang in the markets. This is actually what's right with Boomerang. Boomerang is telling you loud and clear, stand aside. Stand aside, Mr. Trader. Buy channel, look, sell channel, yellow dot, buy channel, blue dot, red candle, blue dot, sell channel, yellow dot. I mean, arguably, this sell channel here, you could have shorted this one here according to the fact that the trend bands are matching, but you've already got from this point 1029 to 1139. You've been sitting here for over an hour through this whipsaw. Don't be too anxious to trade. Let it pan out. But if you said, oh, they're matching trend bands, they've crossed over, I'm going to go short here at 37.25, well, guess what? That worked out for it. That worked out because Boomerang's so awesome that it, even in the midst of all, it tended to work out. Then the minute they drop down, what happened again? Oh, back to the whipsaw routine here. Back to the whipsaw. Anyway, try to avoid this. And the best thing to do is wait for a up channel in the Bollinger Band. Watch for the thing to turn up here. And that's what they do here. Everything matching. Now you can see there's clearly a turn up in the Bollinger Bands. Let me put this over to the right side of the chart. See that? Over here, you can see Bollinger Bands, everything's flat. Now look as I move them forward. They're exceeding this last high area here, climbing up, creating an up channel movement, and there is a pullback to the signal line. And again, a late trade, which I don't usually recommend, but there it goes. I have not done much in terms of going through all these, but I've given you all the rules. You can go over your own Boomerang. Just take the rules that I've given you and go through all these setups. I mean, you can see them all happening in here. Matching trend bands, down they go. Spread is here. No trade here. It's part of the business. Extreme choppiness. Everything's matching here finally with a trend down move going. There's a sell there. This is a good one here. This is a classic example of that modification where they shoot up off the new buy channel too fast. They form a fat channel up here, but your qualification is right here, a brand new crossover. Here they are right at the Cobra here at 29.25. So it just barely held the 5-point stop from the whipsaw here by a tick, but it did hold the 5-point stop. So if you got long at the Cobra here, you would have made it. But you might have, even with this happening, you might even try to get a little bit better price. It's kind of a trader skill you develop working with Boomerang, and up they go. And again, a late day trade. It's been a heavy couple weeks, but I'm just showing you the Boomerang trades do work out very well. There's like they're supposed. Here's a counter, okay, a downside move, counter buy channel, counter sell. The signal right there on the arrow candle or down here, 3 points there. The market's crossing over. Here's the crossover. Take the pullback signal line. You got the crossover. You don't need the colors to match if you got the crossover. Pullback signal line and up they go. Here's the colors matching again here. Sell them short. Down they go. Here's the colors matching here. Up they go. See that? Some days are going to be a little, take more patience, and all of a sudden the next day, smooth as silk. Big flying high move up here. Matching trend bands getting, or not matching color, but tightening up that spread. Go ahead and short them right there. They're going to cross over. Down they go. No buy here. This was a counter buy that failed here. There was a slight crossover here of the Cobra, but once the sell channel opened up, everything's matching the colors again. You go ahead and short them there. Even if this was a reset, you're still going to short this new sell move here, and down they go. If I had gone a little faster earlier, but I do like to give you a lot of theory and philosophy and just from the trading trenches, type advice on how to look at this as a job. That's going to be the most important thing. Read Mark Douglas's book. You're going to love that book, Trading in the Zone. You can get it on Amazon for very low cost, like $8-10, used. Who cares, as long as it's not all marked up. And they'll tell you right on there. Sell here, see that? Matching dynamic trend band. Counter move, counter sell, down they go. Right there, classic counter buy channel that fails. Look for it fail, look for the new sell channel. Take that next yellow dot, down they go. Here's the dynamic trend bands crossing over, matching color, pullback signal line, up they go. No trade here. Wait for all the trend bands to match, which they do right here. Go short, down they go. Here's a counter move, but it didn't give you a buy channel that failed, so no sell here. Here's one here. It's a pretty extended move and almost like what could be a third level trade. But if you you just look at it as a reset. If it doesn't start moving on the buy side, this movement of the Cobra over the steep dynamic trend line, or in this case flattening a little, it's just a reset of the pattern. So if you get another sell channel, and you get the dynamic trend bands matching, well, then you just go short. Anyway, I really appreciate you joining with us today, and we can go to your question and answers now.